Okay, I want you to think of a number. No, that's wrong. It's 24. See? Told you, 24. See? It's up there. Okay, now then. Right, I'm going to ask you, okay, I want you to give me two numbers that multiply together make 24. Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. Here we go. Facts of 24. 24, go. Right, there they all are. Okay, 24. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. All these numbers make 24 when you multiply. Okay, so we can kind of list these. Okay, let's have a look. 1 times 24. What do we say? 2 times 12. All these are options. 3 times 8. And 4 times 6. Now, if I go back to that, a 6, okay? Right, if I go back to that, now actually look at this. Look at the negative numbers, because don't forget any one of these. Negative 2 times negative 12 can make positive 24, okay? So be aware that two negatives can make the positive. Okay, so we've got numbers there that multiply together make 24. I'm going to throw another one at you. Which one of those sets will give you 14 when you add? Okay, so think about this. Two numbers that multiply together make 24, that when you add make 14. Well, isn't that 12 and 2? No? You see that? Okay, that's it. You've done it. Okay, there we go. Those are two numbers, 2 and 12. Great, but be careful. Supposing I'd have said this, 24 when you multiply, but negative 14 when you add. Well, can you see that would be negative 12 and negative 2, okay? So those are the two numbers that make negative 14 when you add, but still positive 24 when you multiply. And keep on going. How about negative 24 when you multiply, but positive 10 when you add? Okay, I'm still going to go for these 12 and 2s at the moment, because look, can you see that's going to be two numbers that make negative 24 when you multiply, positive 10 when you add, is 12 and negative 2. Can you see that? So 12 times negative 2 is negative 24, 12 and negative 2 is positive 10. Okay, now we can kind of do all sorts of numbers like this. How about if I say to this, two numbers that make negative 42 when you multiply, that make negative 1 when you add. So think about it. Two numbers that make negative 42 when you multiply, that make negative 1 when you add. I've got the dogs again. Okay, so what times what makes 42? Hey! Sorry. Right, what times what makes 42? Well, again, we can go back to that side. Okay, we can put 42 in here. Hit go. Right, 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14, 6 times 7. Isn't that our usual one? Okay, so if I go, the two numbers, I need more negatives to make the negative 1 when I add. So I would go for negative 7 and positive 6. So there's the two numbers that make negative 42 when you multiply, that make negative 1 when you add. Okay, so this can go on and on and on. Now, why are we doing this? All right, well, let's have a look at this. Let's go back to this here. Okay, so I just threw at you two numbers that make 24 when you multiply, that make 14 when you add, and hopefully you all went, okay, 12 and 2. Now look at this. What's this then? This is a trinomial that you're going to factor. Okay, now I'm going to say to you, again, what's the two numbers that make 24, that one at the end, okay, 24 when you multiply, that make positive 14 when you add, the one in the middle, okay, the x term. Now the x squared is always going to come from x times x. There is x squared if you know your FOILs, okay? So x times x will give me the x squared at the start. Now I just need the two numbers that make 24 when you multiply, 14 when you add. And remember, we said that was positive 12 and positive 2. Okay? And then that's the answer. You have just factored that trinomial into two parentheses. X squared plus 14x plus 24 will give you x plus 12, x plus 2. So when you multiply these two together, you will get that. Okay? Let's just check on that. Remember? There's the x squared. The outer will give me 2x. Okay? So remember, we've got the x squared at the start. Right, the inner will give me 12x. Okay, and that's positive. That's positive. and the last will give me 24. Okay. Now look, I can add like terms. Those two together will give me the 14x in the middle. Okay, so x squared plus 14x plus 24. Let's just try anything else. Let's do anything. Just somebody shouted number at me. Hey, oh, the cat's eating. Sorry, the cat was eating my toast. Right. Okay. So, you know, let's have a look. Let's try that. Let's go for negative 32. Right. I'm going to do this. X squared minus 4x minus 32. Okay, so again we've got an x at the start of each parentheses. Okay, now then we're going to say to ourselves, remember that's the x squared. What's two numbers that make negative 32 when I multiply, that make negative 4 when I add? You go 32, quick, you go quick, I don't know, you go 32, go. Right, 1 times 32, 2 times 16, 4 times 8. And hopefully you go, oh, right, I want more negatives to get negative 4 when I add. Okay, that's negative 8 and positive 4. And again, that's the answer, because negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Negative 8 plus 4 is the negative 4. Now, a student once said to me, well, does it matter which way round they are? And I said, you know, if I write the x plus 4 first, they said, no, because that's the commutative. That law that's 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. Okay, so x plus 4, x minus 8. You can swap those two round. Okay, they're next to each other. Right, and that's it. You've just factored x squared minus 4x minus 32 into those two parentheses. So then, of course, we'll do a lot of exercises on that. So I'll be throwing some trinomials at you. You've got to factor it into two parentheses. Okay, and think of the two numbers. And don't forget, we normally write it as x squared, x and the number at the end. If it's mixed up, put it in that descending order. We're not trying to trick you. X squared, the x term, and that little number at the end. Okay. So now, as this is the workshop, yeah, normally I would be they'd watch these videos. Maybe I'll give them a quiz. I'll give you guys a quiz. Okay, when you come in, just make sure you've watched the videos. It's a short little quiz. Proves you watch the videos, and I'm going to ask you a question as well. Okay, and here's the question. Right, Fleur. Okay. Now I'm going to say to you, what tattoo is Fleur thinking of having? All right. The answer's a jellyfish. All right. It's a jellyfish. That might be a multiple choice question. Okay. So that's it. That's the video for factoring trinomials.